Okay, so we are back with another build project. This is the Harlech Castle loco that we've just released, so let's get on with building it. So I've skipped ahead, I've put some leads onto the motor block. I've screwed it into this block and I've put the worm gear on. Now when you push the worm gear on, make sure you're holding the back of the motor when you push it on, otherwise the guts of the motor may pop out and we don't want that. That causes heartache. So next thing to do is find these pieces. So that's the front of the loco. It's got two holes in it, and that's the little buffer block slash linkage. And you'll need two screws, two of these countersunk screws. A little bit fiddly, but there you go. You get the head poking out. These are reversible, so it doesn't matter which way up that goes. What I suggest is you get one partly in and then you go over and do the next one, trying to line the holes up, and then make sure it's square on the front as best you can, and drop your screws everywhere. That gives you the first bit. Now the next bit to do on these is get yourself your super glue, your favourite super glue, and glue these on. And there is, on these, you can just about see, there's sort of a recess mark there that these line up to be glued into. They are very fiddly. Right, but because we don't like watching paint dry or glue come to that, I'm going to skip that part. I'm sure you all know how to glue stuff and wait for it to set. Next is, I've skipped forward again, you get your side chassis rails and you get the spacing blocks. You also want to get your motor block now and screw these in. These all slot together like so, and then a couple more of those countersunk screws again to screw those in. So each one has two screws, and that gives the separation of the frame. We can't do the other side of the frame yet because we need to now do bearings and wheels. So we'll start with the main wheel, which has the gear on. So there's little spacers that are 1.5mm, I think they are, for the G scale, which is what we're focused on at the moment. I'll get the listings for the other spacers that you need in the 32mm, but for the moment we're just worried about the 45. These are 50mm spacers that slide on. You've then got your gear, slides on, another spacer, and another wheel, and then another little spacer, and that's one set, which is going to be for the set up here where the motor is. Now I've done the other ones, so the other ones are exactly the same, except for the middle you've got a 10mm spacer instead of the gear, because they're not driven by gears on these. And then the very end one is the crank one, which is just got a bunch of 15mm spacers through it and stop it going anywhere. Right, bearings, 6mm bearings, they pop into these. You may want to put a dab of glue on these to stop them going anywhere, but if you do, be careful that you don't glue the bearing up, otherwise it's not going to roll. Right, so once we've done that, we can stick these in, which is a little bit tricky. Pull that bearing out to do this one. Other wheels. And then the last one. Too many bearings on that one. Right, now this is a stage where you probably want to get yourself something that you can sit this on without the bearings touching anything, because we're going to need to do the other side of the frame now, which is again pop all the bearings into the holes, which I'm sure I just had some more here. And I've got one on there already. Right, okay, so this goes that way around. Knew that would happen, didn't I? Knew that would happen. This is why I should have glued them in, but no one wants to watch the glue dry, so there we go. Now it's the case of fiddle around with it loads until everything pops into place. Make sure all the bearings are where they're meant to be. Okay, and then we go over to get ourselves some more of these countersunk screws. I'm not going to put all the screws in, but as you can tell there's holes here, there and everywhere for screws, and also the end plate there. I'll put enough in that it doesn't fall apart when I'm doing the video, but not enough in that we all get very bored watching the video, hopefully. And while you're there, screw that one as well. Cool, right, next thing we need to do, see in your kit you have some bits of filament like this. You'll need very small bits, like so, and these will line up to those little holes in the frames. Now these holes also line up to get the right one, to the holes in the backs of these, so you can glue these down, and these little pins will help you line it up to get it in the right spot, so you've got the detail on the frame. So that you need to do on both sides of the frame, obviously. Next is what we all hate, but this is actually quite easy in this case, is doing the cranks. So I've printed some of these in different colours so they're easier to see on the camera, otherwise it would just be all black. So we've got a nut here which is a bit tricky to push in, so it's a M2 nut I think. So you put that in there and you push it down. Now probably best to use a mini vise to do that, and push them in. That's that bit done. Now the next thing is you've got a M 2.3 by 7mm screw, black, not that you can see it very well, that goes in here. That's to provide a clamp onto the axles. So most important thing here is they are 90 degrees apart, these, so look through the packs and find all the same ones to start with. So you see it is a flat on there, so you need to find all the ones with the same flat in the same place. The other ones have a flat on the other opposite side, 90 degrees apart, and that is what gives you your quartering and makes it quite easy to do. So these will pop on. Make sure when you're putting these on that the nut is going towards the inside of the frame, otherwise it's going to undo itself. Now what I'd suggest here is when you do this is that you run the bottom of it first, make sure you're happy that it's all moving how it should move, and then at some point in the future maybe put a little bit of Loctite in these just to stop them going anywhere. Right, next is these. They've got a shaft on that will make the rods go around smoothly. These are a hex key, so get those done and tightened up. Don't over tighten these because it is only plastic. Now this is the point where if you've chosen the wrong cam, you'll find out pretty soon, because it'll be pointing in a different direction, so you need to swap it over for the right one. Right. Oops, that's why I should have put more screws in. So that's that side done. Now we swap over to the other side and do the same thing. I have to get a slightly different setup to hold it all together. Right, so imagine that I have screwed that in. So we're going to do the same again. You're going to locate these on and glue that down, and then we're going to put the cams and the crank on. Now here I have cheated, I've prepared it, so it should just slot on if I get it in the right direction. Right, so we get all those on, and then to make sure they don't go anywhere, we then tighten up the screws that we put in to the cams, and it'll lock it onto the axle so it doesn't go anywhere. And we need to do that on all of them to make sure they're tightly on. Right, again we'll pretend that didn't fall off and it's still stuck there. We're now on to the footplate, shall we call it. Right, so these are steps to the footplate. You'll wonder what these sort of weird things are. They're part of the printing process, and they do just snap off. So all of them have those on, and they can snap off and get chucked in the bin, or some people actually make trees out of them for like smaller scale trains and things. Give it a quick clean up if you need to or want to, and then we come over to the footplate. We're going to screw those in on these outside holes here. As you see, I've already done some because it's a bit boring watching someone put screws in, as I've already said numerous times. Right, so there's a hole here. That is so you can put your cabling through for the motor. So the motor's down this end. Put the cable through. And now try and find the holes, which are somewhere in there. There we go, there's one. Put one in the back somewhere. And the reason why I screw this down first is because if we put all the screws in here, that makes this piece of ply, laser cut ply, flat as it can be, which is important for the next few steps that we're going to do. Right, what bit should I do next? Let's do the frame of the cab. So again, it's all laser cut parts, and they all slot into each other like so. So obviously use a bit of super glue. Now on the door there's little tabs, 4 little tabs, that if you so wish you could cut those and have the door so it opens. You can use like a hinge from an aircraft, RC aircraft or something like that, or paper hinge. That's not provided in the kit, but should you want to be able to open the door, you can. Right, okay, so let's get these stuck on there. So again, they all slot in, and I'll do one at a time. All slot into the frame. Let's do the outside ones first. Doors go that way. So it's quite a straightforward construction really. Now, because I'm not going to be sitting there watching glue dry again, as my favourite comment always is, I've got a special elastic band, which will probably all go pop in a minute. This is the same elastic band that I've been using for all the prototypes, and it's worked out well so far. There we go. Just make sure everything's square. So that's that bit done. Now, there's some more plastic bits. So these are the sides. Again, they are all sort of keyed in, so these will slot in. Again with that side. The front grille, move his cable down there somewhere, and then you can use your favourite super glue to glue all these in location onto that bit as well, I'd say. The front bonnet, so here's where we add some more of the detail parts. So we've got this little part here, this is the air filter that we plug in. We've got the exhaust in the back hole there. We've got a horn that we plug in. Obviously glue these in so they don't go anywhere. And then we've got the spotlight, which is in two parts. So there is enough room in here if you wanted to stick an LED, and there's a little cutout in there for the cable to go down. So if you want to do that and then stick it together. And then that slots into the front hole here somewhere. If I can get them lined up properly. And that's that. Now underside, 2 countersunk screws. Find this retaining clip and screw it to the bottom via these 2 screws. And then that enables it to sit on top of the Loco without it falling out anywhere. Now, back is pretty much similar to this. All clipped together again. You'll see little key areas. That slots in and you can glue it down. And then the back bonnet, as it were, again has a retaining clip that has 2 screws in it to keep it there. And that slots in. All my elastic bands in the way. You may find you need to trim some parts of the 3D print just to make them fit nicely. Right, next is the wire that it comes with, which I haven't got a bit out, so I'll grab it. The kit will come with wire like this, and it will come with these little bits that probably can't tell on the camera, but there are little holes in there, which what I prefer to do here, and I'll tell you for why in a minute, is thread the wire through first, very carefully. There is some spares of these, and there you go. Right, so I don't know if that's going to focus on there, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. Now you're going to clip these off. This is why I've put it on the metal first, because otherwise it'll shoot across the workshop and you'll never see them again. They're quite long, so don't worry about if you haven't cut it quite perfectly. So you've got 3 of those. 3 of those. Which it's not going to focus on very well, the camera. But 3 of those, there you go, that's a bit better. There are holes in the top bonnet here that these slide into. So, though I'm not going to do it now, but they'll poke into those holes and you can glue those down so it looks like it's got the hand rail that it should have. Equally, on the sides, you'll see there's holes in the cab, which this wire can go through as well, and just all you need to do there is get it to the right size and then bend the ends over so it looks like it's got the handrail there. Right, okay, we're on the final stretch. We've got a roof, can't forget a roof. Again, through the 3D print process, it's got supports in it. These all snap away like so, quite easily. Again, they're rubbish bits. Might clean that up a little bit with a craft knife or whatever. And that also slots into the top. So the only final few things is name plaques, which I don't think this will focus in very well. No, it's not, so I'll get a shot of those afterwards. Anyway, so the Harlech Castle goes on the side, stuck on, and the Baguley goes on the front, stuck on. And then you are done. So I'd say you could build this in, well, not very much time really. Afternoon, easy, even if you take your time. But what I would probably suggest is when you're building it, you paint it at the same time, paint the parts you need to paint, and obviously glue it together properly, not like I did with this one where it'll just fall apart in a minute. But yeah, there you go. Happy building, have fun, and if you bought one already, thank you very much. If you're going to buy one, well, thank you again. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks.